We are live. Hello and welcome. This is the Anarchimedes show, episode 28. The 28th episode. Wow. On this, December 3rd, 2024. It is 5:16 here in the land of the burning sun. And we are going to do some ASMR adventuring, so before we get going too much farther, let's get Scully lit back there. We have, this episode was slated for yesterday, but things happen, and sometimes we just aren't feeling up to doing the show. And since this is for fun and for mental health, we sometimes take a break. But we are back to it today. And it was a good day because we took down the monolith and performed some surgery on it, removing its second NVMe drive. It was doing a kidney donation for Totsy's computer. There was nothing really on that drive, so it was not being used very much. And there was some thoughts that being installed in the second slot was disabling some of the SATA drives, or SATA drives, or however you want to pronounce it. And I have the monolith, well, we won't get into it too much, but needless to say, the surgery was a success, but the patient remains the same. Anyway, fun stuff. That's what was going on yesterday. Hard to do a stream, too, when you're going to take down the computer that does your streaming for maintenance. Anyway, today we are getting back to The Mountain of Mirrors by Rose Estes. Book 2 in the Dungeons & Dragons Endless Quest series. Published in 1982 by TSR Hobbies. Where we left off, in this adventure, we are Landon, an elf who's on a mission from his village to open up a way through the mountains. Along the way, he discovers, and let's just go switch over here and wash me out with some bright light so we can see a little better. We were Landon, and we came across some ogres and an ice giant as we tried to venture into the mountains, to the Mountain of Mirrors. And what ended up happening was an avalanche was caused by a white dragon, a young white dragon, and it covered the trail. So we came to our very first choice. If you want to turn around and go home and ask for help, turn to page 38. If you want to try to dig out the trail and continue on your own on with your mission, turn to page 119. Now, I have a feeling that if we go home, that'll probably be the end of the adventure. Yeah, we were supposed, if you remember from the beginning, we were entrusted to this mission solo, and it was ours to accomplish, and we were given a great sword to do it with. So we're going to continue on. We're going to press on. The whole point was to go solo, not to come asking for help. So we go to page 119. You look around at the tons of snow and ice, and way ahead will be difficult. If you turn back, you will probably lose the last chance of survival. Already flakes of the first winter storm are swirling in the cold air. Okay, I need to adjust the mic, so I'm going to mute the mic for just a second. try that. It's fun trying to read a book that the mic is right in the way. They're trying to look around the mic. In any case, back to our adventure. You make your decision quickly. You will not turn back. You have given your word to do your best, and you will succeed or die trying. Tying the mule to a huge chunk of ice, you get to work. Afterward, you can't remember how long it took to clear the trail. Your memory is clouded by the pain of bleeding hands, frozen fingers, and snow-blind eyes. But at last the job is done. The trail is clear. You collapse against the shaggy warmth of the mule and fall into an exhausted sleep. At last you awaken stiff and aching. Rising painfully to your feet, you pull the sleepy, snow-covered mule out onto the narrow trail. It twitches and trembles, but follows you nervously along the icy path. The path is narrow and dangerous. The mountain rises steeply on one side, covered in ice and snow. On the other side is the sheer edge of the mountain. At its base, thousands of feet below, are sharp teeth of rock, loosely buried in masses of snow and ice brought down by the avalanche. You edge your way past the snow-covered frost giant's cave. Catching the scent of the dragon, your mule's nostrils flare. Easy, boy. I don't like it either. Don't worry, the dragon can't get us now. The mule flattens its ears against its head, but continues to plod through the snow past the cave. The wind increases. Ice and snow blow against you with tremendous force, making it difficult to see and to keep your balance. It is almost impossible to push forward. Suddenly the mule rears and begins to scream, jerking hard against the rope. You slip on the icy trail and can no longer control the frightened mule. Screaming wildly, the mule rips the ropes from your hands, turns and rushes into the storm. Within seconds it is lost from sight in the blowing snow. You are alone on the mountain. Mountain. You place your hand on the hilt of the sword of the Magus. As though in answer to your touch, the sword begins to hum. You wonder where the danger could come from in this lonely place. You draw your sword and peer into the driving storm, trying to find your enemy. A figure stumbles towards you out of the whiteness. It's an orc. Its greenish-brown skin is covered with snow. You wonder why it's wandering around outside. Orcs hate the light and usually live underground. You don't have long to wonder. The orc is attacking. There is a sudden lull in the storm, and a bright ray of sun floods the area. Sensing the strength of the sword of the Magus and the brilliance of the sun, the orc turns and runs. It rushes down the trail, with you following close behind. As you round a bend in the trail, the orc disappears. The snowy trail stretches before you, but no footprints mark its surface. You wonder if possibly orcs have been ambushing the parties who travel through the lonely mountain passes. You know what that an orc would be here only for evil purposes. Great gusts of snow and freezing wind wail past you on the narrow ledge, tearing the questions about the orc from your mind. You must soon find a shelter or perish. In just a moment. Closely examining the frozen ground, you see orc footprints leading straight into the side of the mountain. Looking carefully, you discover an opening hidden by overhanging ledges of snow and icicles. Squeezing between two sheets of ice, you enter an ice cave, sword at the ready for the orc. The sword of the Magus is silent. Looking down, you see many footprints in this frozen ground. There are footprints of elves, orcs, humans, animals, and some footprints you don't recognize. You creep slowly into the dark cave. Your elven sight shows you that nothing is in the cave. Slowly you step out of the darkened area. Your feet fly out from under you. You come down hard, landing flat on your back. When you land, you begin to slide. This was no small patch of ice. You travel faster and faster, plunging through a tunnel of ice sloping downward. The walls blur. Slowly, the steep angle of the icy chute begins to even out. Using your feet to brake yourself, you start to slow down. Finally, you skid to a stop, scared and shaken, but unhurt. The sword of the Magus remains silent. Wherever you are, there are no enemies nearby. Holding the sword of the Magus before you, you command it. Great sword of the Magus, light this place. A clear golden light springs from the sword and fills the area. You're in a small room made of ice. Behind you, the ice chute rises in shimmering spirals towards the roof far above. You see nothing in the room but the orc footprints leading into a curious door on the far wall. You approach the door slowly, holding the sword of the Magus before you. You have never seen a door like this before. It is made from ice and sculpted on its a great face. On it is a great face. Frosty eyebrows jut over deep-set closed eyes. An enormous beak-like nose extends over a bushy ice mustache that bristles with tiny icicles. The mouth is frozen in a frightening snarl. Stepping up to the door, you push at it with all your strength. It does not move. You back up, rush towards the door, and crash into it with your shoulder. Your arm tingles with pain, but the door hasn't budged. You cannot break the door down by force. Maybe you can chop your way through it with your axe. You take the axe and bash the door with a great blow. The axe slides in as easily as slicing warm butter, but instead of cutting through the door seals around the blade. With difficulty, you pull it free from the ice. This is no ordinary door. It must be enchanted. Still, if the orc got through the door, then so can you. You walk up to the door, raise your hand, and knock on the great domed forehead. The sound echoes in the small room. The door's eyes fly open and glare straight at you. The mouth opens with a breath like the north wind and asks, "Who's there?" A talking door. You stare at it in amazement. "Well, you went knock, knock, and I said, 'Who's there?' says the door. The least you can do is answer my question. Why are you staring at me?" "Don't you know it's not polite to stare?" snorts the door. "One meets the worst class of beings down here. Well, I won't waste my time with an adult who doesn't even know its own name." The eyes blink shut and the door is silent once more. Your mouth hanging open in amazement, you stare at the door, your hands hanging limply at your sides. You are too astonished to speak. The door is the strangest thing you've ever encountered. If you want answers, you must talk to the door. Stepping forward boldly, you knock again on the frosty forehead. The door opens its eyes and asks again, "Who's there?" This time you have an answer ready. "An elf," you reply. "An elf who?" says the door. "Elf Landon from the village Aurelia. Please let me pass, Mr. Door." The door seems pleased with your answer and says, "That's better. At least you know who you are this time. I'm afraid I can't let you pass. You see, it's my job to guard against intruders like you. This is an important place, and I have a very important post. I say you can't pass, so go away." "Door," you say, "I intend to pass, one way or the other." "Just try it," says the door. If you want to attack the door with your axe, turn to page 89. If you want to light your torch and threaten to melt the door, turn to page 69. If you want to use your axe to cut footholds in the ice chute to return to the surface and go home, turn to page 37. Wow. Rose really is giving you options to just cut and run in this adventure, isn't she? Um, I don't think we should try to go home. I don't think the axe is going to do much good against the door. We've already tried the axe. I would say let's try to light our torch and threaten to melt the door. Now, it's an enchanted door. It may take enchanted fire. This is my thinking. If this was a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, it may take enchanted fire to melt the door, but we could try it with our torch first. So we will try to light our torch and threaten the door on page 69. Quickly you light your torch. Fierce blue flames shoot up and water begins to drip from the ceiling. The air grows warmer. Holding your torch before you, you stride to the door. "You wouldn't dare!" shrieks the door. "Want to bet?" "I'll melt you in a minute if you don't open up immediately," you shout. Water streams down the face of the door, making it appear to be crying. Its features begin to soften and melt. Its bushy eyebrows droop over angry eyes. A drip trembles from the tip of its nose. The mustache hangs limply over the sagging mouth. The features start to blur. Water is now ankle deep in the small room, and the walls and ceiling steam with mist. "Help! Don't melt me! I'm really a good fellow. I'm only doing my job. If you stop right now, I'll let you in," begs the door. "Okay, door, I'll stop, but you better let me in, and no tricks," you say. "Get that torch away from me, and I'll let you in," says the door. Creaking on icy hinges, the door swings open, just wide enough for you to squeeze through. Cold air blasts you, blowing out your torch as you press through the opening. You are bathed in a cold, brilliant light that streams down from the crystal dome far above you. A narrow ledge branches to your left and right. Directly in front of you is a broad staircase lightly dusted with snow. The staircase descends into a layer of clouds, and you cannot see where it leads. There can be no doubt about it. You are inside Shanafria, Mountain of Mirrors. Turning around, you discover the door has another face on this side. "Ha ha! Didn't know I was two-faced, did you?" says the door smugly. "Well, you got in. Let's see how much good it does you." The door starts to scream. "Help! Help! Guards! Intruder within the walls!" You hear the thud of heavy footsteps to your left. A gruff voice yells, "'Tis me, Raga." If you choose to stand and fight the guards, turn to page 93. If you choose to run down the staircase into the cloud layer, turn to page 39. If you choose to run along the ledge to your right, turn to page 91. Choices, choices, choices. Well, we could stand and fight. We could run down into the cloud layer, or we could run along the ledge. I'm inclined to run along the ledge. I'm not inclined to stand and fight the guards. And not inclined to run down, not knowing what's down below. Maybe we should. Maybe where we should go is down. But my first gut reaction was to head right. So, I think we'll try that course of action first. Heading right. Page 91. To win the battle, you must know how many enemies you will face. You don't want to run down the icy staircase into the clouds that could hide unknown dangers. You decide to take the ledge to the right. You leave the shrieking door far behind as you sprint along the ledge. Ahead of you is a dark corridor opening off the ledge. Beyond the corridor stands 2 orc guards with their backs to you. They are not yet aware of your presence. If you try to avoid the guards and slip into the corridor, turn to page 96. If you want to try to trick the orc guards, turn to page 72. If you want to attack the guards while they are still unaware of you, turn to page 90. Well, do we want to be murder hobos and just kill everything? Well, they are orc guards. I think discretion might be the better part of valor in this case. And turn down the corridor. If we can get lost first, rather than having to fight and risk capture, I think that's a good option. We'll try to slip down the corridor. You do not want to fight if you can avoid it. Moving quietly, you press close to the wall and edge your way up the dark opening. So far, your luck has held. The orcs have not heard you. Wrapping yourself tightly in your elven cloak, you dart into the dark corridor. Turn to page 42. Cautiously, you enter the dark passage. Your elven sight shows that no one is near. Sword drawn and ready for battle, you creep down the corridor. You travel on for about 20 minutes and encounter nothing. Other dark and silent passages open off this main corridor. At last the corridor opens out into a large stone room. 20 small cell-like units have been carved into the damp walls. Each little cell contains a tattered blanket and a grimy bowl. The openings to the cells are heavily barred. There are small doors near the stone door. There are small doors near the stone floor. You wonder what unlucky creatures live in the tiny cells. You hear sounds coming from the corridor, but you cannot make out what they are. If you choose to investigate the sounds and the cells, turn to page 95. If you choose to run away, turn to page 99. No, I think we should investigate. Now that we are kind of unknown, now we should investigate. We shouldn't just keep running. Yeah, if you choose to run away. Run away! Page 99. You listen for another minute, then, hearing nothing, continue down the corridor. Leaving the cells behind, you walk down... Wait. What page was that on? 96? No. I think I turned to the wrong one. '96 was back into the corridor. Then we went to page 42. This is one of the other fun things on this. If you ever think, oh, did I choose the right one? Choose to investigate. Yeah, I didn't choose to run away. We want to investigate. We're going to page 95. Pressed against the frosty stone wall, you move slowly down the corridor, listening intently. You hear blows, cries, and the rattle of chains. A rough voice growls, "Get up, lazy elf, or you'll be tonight's supper. Yeah. You'll be tonight's supper. All you do is cry for food and blankets, but you won't work for them." You hear more blows and cries of pain. More chains rattle, and the footsteps draw closer. You edge forward until you see an ogre carrying a large sword and leading a ragged line of humans, elf, and halfling prisoners. The dirty and exhausted prisoners are linked together by a chain that runs from one thin neck to another. You watch and shudder. You want to help the poor creatures, but if you get killed trying to help the prisoners, you will fail the people of your village. It is a hard decision to make. The ogre stands with its back to you. It screams at the pathetic line of prisoners. "Hurry up! I want dinner!" You back up and hide behind the boulder until the ogre and its prisoners pass. Okay, if you choose to run away down the other corridor, turn to page 129. If you want to try to fool the ogre, turn to page 23. If you choose to attack the ogre, turn to page 79. Let's try to fool the ogre. I have a good feeling about trying to fool the ogre and trying to attack him. We'll go from least invasive to the most invasive. But we won't run away. Oh, yeah, Rose is in fine form in this book. Run away? Go back home? That is the internal battle of Landon here. Returning to page 23. Standing 9 feet tall, the ogre is very frightening. It looks as though it could tear you limb from limb with one hand. You look at its mouth filled with ragged yellow teeth and remember that ogres consider elves a treat and love to eat them. A long chain dangles from one of the ogre's scaly hands, and a huge sword is attached to its belt. You wonder if you can trick the ogre. You are desperately trying to think of a way to do so when you realize the ogre is nearly upon you. It's too late to run. You wonder if the same trick that fooled the 2 guards at the entrance will work on the ogre. We didn't trick the 2 guards. Hiding your sword and backpack behind a rock, you step out of the shadows and say, "Quick! Tismius and Roger sent me for help. There's an invasion back at the door." The ogre stops short, looks closely at you, and says, "So what? Who helps Mang when Mang have trouble? Let them help themselves." Slowly you start to back up. "Well, if you don't want to help, that's okay. I'm sure everything will work out. I better get back. Thanks, Mr. Mang." While the ogre's squinty red eyes peer curiously at you, you take a few steps back. "Where are you from?" it growls. "Oh, I'm new here, sir. I just happened to be at the door. Tismius told me to go find help." "Don't look like a prisoner. Why you want run free, while you still have nice cloak?" The ogre snatches at your cloak, but you step back out of its reach. "Hey, what's going on here? You no messenger, Mang knows." You try to edge slowly away. With a rasping clang, the ogre draws its sword and advances on you. You have never seen a blade like it before, solid black and 4 feet long. When the ogre draws a sword, a curious weakness comes over you. Your knees feel like water. You can't breathe. Your arms feel like they weigh a ton. You are too weak to draw your dagger. "Met your match, elf. My sword made by evil wizard. Sword named Elf Killer. You don't have a chance. Ha 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 ha." The ogre leaps forward, and the dreadful blade pierces your cloak. The cold metal slides along your side as you twist away. Your strength ebbs as though you have been fatally wounded. The floor rushes up to meet you, and everything goes black. You awaken to find yourself slung over the ogre's shoulder. You are nearing the line of prisoners. Even though they have been left unguarded, they have not moved. Carefully, you inch your hand towards the dagger strapped to your belt. Believing you are dead, the ogre has not bothered to search for your weapons. You pull your dagger out of its sheath and plunge it into the ogre's back. Thud, the ogre drops to the ground and staggers about. Drops you to the ground and staggers about, trying desperately to pull the blade from its back. It screams with pain and rage because it can't reach the blade. The corridor echoes with its inhuman shrieks.
Kill, kill, you are going to be sorry, little elf. Slice you into little bitty bits.
The ogre stumbles towards you, its ugly face twisted with hatred. It swings a sword menacingly. You watch in terror as Ming approaches. Too terrified to move, you cover your eyes. There is a harsh sound of metal striking rock, a heavy thud, then silence. Cautiously, opening your one eye, you spot the ogre lying on the ground, staring at you. You open your other eye. The ogre is still lying on the ground. It has not moved. The ogre is dead. You have killed the ogre. Its dreadful sword elf killer lies broken and powerless on the ground beside you. All your strength returns in a rush as you leap to your feet. Excited, you run to the motionless prisoners. Hey, let's go! I killed the ogre. Follow me. I can get us out of here. The prisoners do not move. Thinking that they do not believe you, you rush back to the body of the ogre and snatch at it for the keys to the chains. Look, I found the key. I'll have you free in no time. You dash about, freeing one prisoner after another. Still, there is only silence from them. They stare stupidly at the ground with their arms dangling loosely at their sides. When the chains fall from their necks, they begin walking slowly and silently down the dark corridor. What are you doing? Wait! Stop and talk to me! What's going on? You yell at them. The prisoners do not stop until they have reached the tiny cells, where they wait patiently to be let in. Listen, you're free! Let's get out of here, you plead. Not one prisoner turns. Not one prisoner speaks. What are you, a bunch of zombies? You say, grabbing the arms of one of the prisoners. The arms feel like rubber, cold and lifeless. Your excitement and hope die as you look at the silent line of prisoners, realizing that only death will free them now. You back away down the corridor. You give the prisoners one last sad look back and see them still standing patiently in front of their cells. You can do nothing for them. Your village still depends on you, and you must continue. So, next choice. If you choose to return to the ledge, run along the staircase and take your chances, turn to page 39. If you choose to investigate the corridor you passed earlier, turn to page 129. Let's return to the ledge, run to the staircase, and take our chances on page 39. If this goes long enough, we might have to do this in a third part. Just looking at the time. You run down the staircase and into the billowing clouds. The clouds protect you from being seen. It would be easy to fall over the icy edge, so you must be careful. You hear sounds. The cloud muffles them, but you can make out two voices. Kvetch! Me hate this post, says the orc voice. Be quiet, Kimmel. All you ever do is complain, snarls a second harsh voice. You stop and think. You have to make a decision. If you choose to try to talk your way past the guards, turn to page 73. If you choose to attack the guards, turn to page 41. If you choose to run away before you are discovered, turn to page 91. Let's try to talk to the guards. We will turn to page 73 and try to talk to these guards. I think this is book 2. I think we are still experimenting with getting the choose your own choice adventure format down, because I think we're circling it a little bit. You approach the two orc guards. They are armed with swords, daggers, and carry shields. They look cold, bored, and unpleasant, even for orcs. Hi guys, you say casually. Tismi has sent me to deliver a message. I need to go down the staircase. Oh yeah, what's the password? Says one of the orcs. Password? Gee, what is the password? It was on the tip of my tongue, but I seem to have forgotten it. Couldn't you let me pass just this once without it? Tismius will be so angry if I don't deliver this message, you say. Both orcs laugh wickedly. Too bad, Elfie, says the taller orc. Tell you what, we helped you because we like you. Wouldn't want Tismius to get angry with his nice little Elfie. Nervously, you shift from foot to foot, waiting to see what the guards are going to do. Suddenly, the taller orc lunges at you and grabs you and tightly around the neck. Grinning horribly, showing its ragged black teeth, it says, We take you back to see Tismius. Then you can tell Tismius how you forgot the password. Tismius probably won't get too angry. We soon see if you are telling the truth, Elfie. Oh no, please don't take me back to Tismius, you squeak. I'm sure I'll remember the password in just a minute. The orcs ignore you, glad for any excuse that they will take them away from their boring post. They head back upstairs, dragging you by the scruff of your neck. Tismius, billows the taller orc. Got a present for you. Instantly, you are surrounded by grinning, piggy orc faces. Your messenger forgot the password, says one of the orcs. Messenger? Tismius asks. I send no messenger. Thanks for catching this intruder for us. I'll see you get extra food tonight. Seizing a dagger from one of the guards, you stab Tismius in the heart. It falls dead at your feet with a terrible splat. Before the other guards can recover from the shock of seeing their leader slain by an elf, you are sprinting down the corridor like the wind. You run down the dark corridor, looking desperately for a hiding place. At last you see something with your elven sight, a crack in the rock wall. A crack just wide enough for an elf to slide through, but not big enough for any monster to force its way through. The crack seems to extend forever. It must be a natural fissure, formed when Shanafria was created. Squeezing your body sideways into the crack, you follow it for a long time. It slopes gently downward and gradually widens. You feel fresh, cold air on your face. Suddenly you realize it is night and you are outside Shanafria, on the trail back to Aurelia. You begin to return to Aurelia. Once you are there, you will gather an army of elves. Together with your knowledge of the secrets of the mountain and the battle skills of the elven warriors, you will return through the secret passageway to defeat the evil in the Mountain of Mirrors. Well, you have reached the end of this adventure. Go back to the beginning for another adventure. Wow, okay. So that is the end of our adventure. We killed an ogre, and it was a little unclear on how exactly we killed that ogre. I think the picture explains a lot more, but where it shows the ogre advancing, but you have your sword, the sword of the Magus, raised. And it doesn't say that you did any of that. It even says that you cover your eyes, but maybe you covered it with like one arm. You did the whole... No! And then he struck the sword as you held it with your other hand. And it shattered. That's what makes sense. I think that was what they were going for, but that got somehow edited out because it does explain that about the sword in the beginning. I think, though, if we didn't try to trick the guards, if we tried another go back to 39. We tried to talk our way past the guards. Maybe next time we should try to attack the guards. I think that might be a good choice. I think that's what we'll do. We'll put a bookmark here. we'll bookmark page 39. We have that choice. And that on the choice of page 39 is where we'll leave this episode. I hope if you've listened to this, you've enjoyed our ASMR Adventuring in the Mountain of Mirrors by Rose Estes, book 2 in the Dungeons & Dragons Endless Quest series of books, produced by TSR Hobbies. We've been streaming for about 40 minutes now. Now, quick update for everyone. Let's go ahead and change things back here a little bit. So we'll come back on the main cam. As you know, yesterday I mentioned that we had done some surgery on the monolith, and the surgery was successful. We have extracted the NVMe drive, the 980 Pro Samsung, which will be going into Totsy's build. The power supply is arriving this morning, and we will have everything we need to build. We just need to get Totsy here. She needs to participate in the build of her own computer. I am a firm believer that you should participate in your own things as much as possible, so you appreciate them more and understand them more. And I need to clear off the build station behind me. The Commander X16 will need to be put away for the build. And I need to set up an overhead cam for that. A lot of things, but it is coming. It is coming. This was episode 28, December 3rd, 2024. If you've enjoyed this, like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Let them know there's this crazy guy who does live feeds on YouTube, and he tries ASMR live feeds and other weird stuff. Maybe it's not that weird, but it is challenging sometimes. In any case, hope you've enjoyed this. I am Anarchimedes, signing off.